There is a lot to unpack this morning for our Sunday roundtable, but that's what makes Boston so beautiful. I mean, let's face it works that way. Joining us, Democratic political analyst Marianne Marston, Republican political analyst Rod Gray. Great to see you guys. You just heard Jim McGovern, and he's talking about this moment and a constitutional crisis moment. How are you seeing this moment in time?
Congress has a choice. They can either regain their power, impeach Trump, or both, because that is the only thing that's going to stop the breaking of our democracy, the breaking of our education, the breaking of our economy, the power grab that Donald Trump is doing. Today, as we speak, Donald Trump is getting his 90-day memo on the Insurrection Act that would enable him to turn the National Guard and the military against the American people. He's taken power from everybody. If Tony Soprano had been in the White House for the last 90 days, this is exactly what it would look like.
Rob?
And it's time to change.
Listen, there's a lot of turmoil. I don't agree with a lot of what Trump is doing, but at the same time, he is doing effectively what he was elected to do by a majority of Americans. I mean, let's look at illegal immigration. Illegal border crossings were 225,000 a month in 2023. They're down to 8,000 a month. That's a 25-fold decrease. So a lot of Americans are happy with what Trump is doing, and a lot of Democrats are taking the bait and going after Trump on those types of things when they should be going after him on the economy and tariffs.
He didn't campaign on taking people out of this country without due process. His poll numbers, the thing that everyone should be worried about, his poll numbers are upside down by 52, 54, 56. They have not. And the fact that the fact that he's not concerned about his poll numbers tells you everything, because I don't think we're going to have a midterm election, which is why he doesn't care about that.
But I think when you focus on that, you should be focusing, if I were giving Democrats advice, on tariffs and what he's doing to the economy, not illegal immigration, where he's doing what he was elected to do.
But the tariffs was also an abuse of power. Only Jim McGovern in Congress can impose tariffs, yet Trump is doing that, and that is the entire problem with all of it.
All right, let's shift to local politics. The City Hall chaos surrounding Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson continues. Only on 5 surveillance video that appears to show her cleaning out her office several weeks before telling the public she planned to resign and admit to federal charges. She still hasn't resigned, and fellow councilors like Ed Flynn say the scandal is really impacting the entire council.
Losing credibility the longer this plays out. We don't realize that we are losing credibility, but it is impacting our reputation.
Now, Fernandez Anderson is scheduled to appear in federal court on May 5th to formally enter her guilty plea, but it appears as though it could be as early as November before her district is represented again. Rob?
Yeah, it looks that way, and I'm not sure that it really matters. I mean, some people stirred up controversy about it, but there are at-large counselors. People can get stuff done if they need to get it done, who live in her district. She probably wasn't doing much to represent them anyway, is what we're finding out.
Marianne?
I think it's unlikely there will be a special election. If the court date is on May 5th, I think, and you have to resign by May 8th to avoid a special election, I think that's what's going to happen.
By the way, who owns the furniture that she was taking out of the office? Okay, next item. We talked a little last week about Mike Keneally announcing his run for governor. We haven't heard much from the other potential Republican candidates or the candidate himself since. So, Marianne, let me start with you. Are you surprised by the lack of immediate follow-up?
I don't think he has a campaign. He's like just now hiring people. So why would you tell everybody you're running before you have a campaign, some kind of structure in place that you can continue to build on? It was like one and done, and the one was not great.
Listen, I think there's a long time to go. It's only April of the year prior to the race. So I think he's doing the right thing. I think he is putting together a campaign team so that he can be competitive in what looks to be a very competitive primary. Like probably 2 or 3 candidates will be in this thing.
Getting his name out there early enough?
I think it's fine. You got to build an operation and be able to raise the money to buy ads in the campaign in the election year, and we're not in the election year.
Just quickly, I mean, he said he'd put in $2 million, and even that didn't get people's attention.
All right, another campaign that hasn't exactly been high profile, Josh Kraft's run for mayor. He does about an event a day or so, but plenty going on at City Hall these days. The spotlight doesn't seem to be finding him. What do you think's going on here, Marianne?
You know, I feel, looking back now, he had the momentum the beginning of the year, the end of last year, beginning of this year. You could see him everywhere. He was talked about and all that. And then Michelle Wu did the congressional testimony, and things just haven't been the same since then. I think he struggled on the campaign trail. He does do an event a week or whatever, but you see a story here or there in the Globe and elsewhere about criticisms he has of her, but there's no sustained momentum in this campaign right now. Maybe it's a lull, but for this race, it's getting late.
Well, an event a day is
a day,
that's what they
Yeah.
they appear to be doing. What do you think, Rob?
I mean, so far it's been a dud of a launch, and he's been a dud of a candidate. I mean, the race, he was trailing 15 points at the end of February. He's still trailing by 15 points. I mean, does anybody think that things have gotten better? They've probably gotten worse for him. So what happened in the 6 weeks? He didn't gain any ground.
Next item, the game used to be Harvard versus Yale. Now the game is Harvard versus Trump. The White House pulling billions away from the university and threatening its tax-exempt status. There's a clash of titans, but Rob, is it a zero-sum game? What do you think?
I think Harvard was smart to stand up. And Trump is completely wrong, and it's shameful that you threaten their tax-exempt status. And I think that Republicans don't like anybody using the IRS to come down on somebody else for political reasons. So it could boomerang on
What
Trump.
do you think, Marianne?
Courage is contagious. And the minute Harvard stood up against Donald Trump, everyone else followed. UMass followed. Other colleges have followed. Across the country, the Big Ten and others. And for the smaller colleges, this gives them protection. It gives them kind of a shield over everyone if everyone's moving together. And everyone who stands up to Trump wins. So what you see at this point in time, history will look at Harvard's decision to stand up to Trump as the way this chapter ended in our country.
We continue on the record. Stay with us.